Something that I find really interesting is how Pokemon Black and White takes its progression of the seasons, or more specifically, how it handles time as you progress through the main story and the post-game. The game features a multitude of activities as you progress through each season, and some things even being season-specific, but allow for a greater diversity and pace change as you play. What's more fascinating is how this detail creates that sense of time for the player. That time is always moving forward, even when you're not consciously aware of it. The seasons pass regardless if you're playing the game or not, and years can even go by and the seasons will still change, but maybe not in the most uniform way. You could be traveling through Unova one minute, focused on the next gym battle, put down the game for a minute, and then suddenly realize that winter has arrived, altering the landscape, Pokemon, and experience. It's a reminder that the world keeps turning whether or not you're paying attention. I hate that Nintendo didn't do more with the seasons besides just some calendar events in Black and White and every preceding game afterwards. Plus, every single time though, I boot up the game not playing it for a millennium, and it brings up the 55 PowerPoint slides to tell me that, hey, dude, you can't access Twist Mountain now because 15 feet of snow randomly just accumulated one day because the season's now winter. And speaking of, you know what I hate? I can speak for a lot of people when they say, I hate the progression of time. I hate that a year can feel like a minute, and I hate that feeling of knowing when something is over.
As far as like a period of time where I've used my time like wisely or positively, I think I'm honestly, to be honest, I feel like I'm in the best spot right now. I coming out of COVID and into high school with Emma and then all of the band kids and all the theater kids, and stepping away from my old job that kept me busy till like through dinner and very late at night and weekends and crazy hours, and into a job where I can be home for dinner and volunteer at the high school and be a part of all this, has actually in a lot of ways been maybe the best, most rewarding part of my life so far. So
when I see the things around me, there's equally a friend often saying, hey, don't you remember this place only a few years ago? Change is such a stingy feeling, and it kicks even harder when you don't know you've changed alongside that certain place. I remember so fondly our hangout spot, which was the unlikely back of the Dollar Tree in our neighborhood, having so much more depth and wonder only a few years back. Or with my initial small group of 5 people riding our bikes essentially 30 minutes to get to random foam swords or toy cars that we could throw across the back of the building. It didn't and couldn't come as a jump, but everyone just grew apart. We obviously weren't adults yet, we just got busy enough to push activities like this farther away. People got cars, people got jobs, and it didn't seem like a commodity anymore to just plan or do something.
Because when I was like a single teacher, I mean, I would get to school at 6 in the morning and just plug away at work until 5 at night because I had nothing else to do. So I would just work all day. And that was pretty good use of that time, all things considered. But like, I don't do that now, but I wouldn't say that means I make poor use of my time. Cause like now I just have other priorities. Like, you know, I crank out as much work as I can here until 3:30 or so. And then I go and make good use of my time, like taking care of my family. So
Something that at least I think resonates with this feeling of free time and change of it as at least you get older can be greatly summed up in the genre that is coming of age. Time and progression are pivotal to the plot, elaborating to the audience the choices and decisions that lead to the character growing and showing that they aren't the same from where they started in their journey. But more specifically, they show how much free time the characters have at their disposal and how that changes over the course of a show or a season. Shows like Phineas and Ferb Regular Show start off without a care in the world about the time revolving around them, but in far later seasons show why it mattered so much and what the characters are like now because of it. They both do a great job of showing all the small changes in their lives with the progression of each episode, or in that moment, only a fraction of the characters' lives that represent a bigger whole at the end of the season. That's what's so great about the genre. Change is the premise, and the accumulation of it is the plot.
I have like a cheesy story. So I dated my husband in high school and college, and we've been together the whole time. And in college, we went to see Phantom of the Opera at the Palace Theater, downtown Columbus. And at the end of the night, it was snowing. And it was a very like picturesque type of snow where it was falling slowly but accumulating quickly. The buses were leaving tire tracks in the road. For some reason, when we walked out of the theater, it felt like the city was completely empty. Like everyone had dispersed. The streets were blank, but covered in fresh snow. It was quiet. The State House right across the street was lit up with red and green for the holidays. And we just kind of ran in the streets in downtown Columbus and like moseyed over to where the bus was supposed to pick us up to go back to campus. And it was just very surreal. It just felt like no one was around in this major city after we had just seen our favorite musical. And I think back on that all the time. It just feels like it was yesterday because it was so unique.
The premise of coming of age also represents that outlet for the character's reflection. From an outsider's view, it seems incredibly hard to capture that feeling of what it's like to, quote, reflect, but maybe it's just that I've been really never taking the time to do it personally. It's just become harder to look back on myself, I would say. I mean, I started journaling not too long ago to fight that feeling of the days just becoming kind of a word and premise, but before that, it felt incredibly hard to look back on what I've accomplished so far or done in detail. To be fair though, there's no routine way to look back on yourself. I mean, you can picture me right now. I'm looking, reflecting even at the work I've done over 4 or 5 months ago, more specifically with the script, but I haven't touched since. I'm refining myself by looking back. And based on where I am right now, I feel like I'm never going to realize how much I enjoyed the people around me when I leave what normalcy I've made for myself in the last 8 or so months. I mean, my routine, my everyday friends, and even my parents are going to be changing alongside me as that time goes along. And I know it's going faster and faster, and I know I'll have to be the wiser with how I spend it, even though before I was so carefree. Journaling, I feel like, also brings another thing to the table. How much can one day do to someone? How much has changed about someone or something because of that one day? The mesh of everything together to create a week, a month, a year, 10 years, sometimes it feels just like a blur. We spend 24 hours in a day, but we can't fathom how that 24 hours repeats over and over, say 2,000 times to create a decade. It's like if you were to perceive money in terms of millions or billions, it's just words, but they have so many more things tied to them that it would be so hard to accurately visualize. Internalizing days through words has been really impactful though in showing that importance of each of them as I started to log them. They've become my catalyst to see what's happened so far and where that leads me as a person now.
And then really I used my time wisely when I was in grad school and when I was a teaching assistant. You figured out how to schedule things and it's helped me to this day. Whenever I have idle time and I can get something done first, I'll get something done first before I can take any idle time. So it's really, twofold. When I was younger, it just took me a while to mature. You know, by the time I was 22, I probably had it figured out for the most part.
But for everyone else, you've played every card in your hand just the right way for you to be here. Even if those cards may not have been the most favorable, everything happens for a reason, regardless if you played them or not. Are you stronger or more knowledgeable because of your decisions, your indecisions? All of those, say, million events happen, and they happen alongside the knowledge that time would pass.
Definitely time moves faster as I've gotten older. And I think that's because each day is a smaller percentage of my life. So therefore that time moves quicker. When I'm anticipating something, I think time slows down because you're eager for the time to get there till the good thing happens. And so you're waiting. But I think that the idea of what time feels like is fascinating. So if I'm exercising and I'm doing something difficult like holding a plank, like 30 seconds seems like a long time. But in other situations, 30 seconds goes by very quickly.
At other points in time, though, life feels like it can take so many different paces. At one point, you're speeding through the chapter just trying to push the end of it away, and at others, you're just sitting there, taking a grueling stare at the clock on the wall. I mean, my relation with time, even when I was around 11, spending it the wisest wasn't exactly my goal. I poured like hundreds of thousands of hours into games and, quote, experiences, if you'd like to call them that, and I know a ton of my time was invested, kind of, but a majority of it wasted. I even find myself on Instagram often just scrolling away the minutes like they're nothing, though not even a while ago, the difference in a minute to an hour felt like an eternity. I miss that time I've lost to doing essentially nothing, but I'm happy for the time that I did use wisely with my friends or family, connecting through those games sometimes. More often than not, though, it feels like a double-edged sword. It feels like my time is going nowhere, but I can still take that time to look back on what I did and be happy for it regardless of how I used it.
My perception of time has changed as I've gotten older because I don't think I have to be as busy as I thought I used to have to be. So one of my previous questions was, when did I use my time the wisest? And I said, during college. I filled every moment with something, and now I see a value in not having to fill every moment of time with something. That downtime is just as valuable as being busy.
I say this like someone giving a sappy graduation speech, but not only a few years ago when it was COVID, I was living as happy as one could be in my dad's office, and I realized those days are almost 5 years apart from now. Every event has led me to the time that is now, but I still can't fathom that those choices are going to lead me to a completely different life in a few months. It's never a bad thing for change, but you can never stop the clock to really take a good look at it. Seeing who or what changes because of the timer really shows what you need to take advantage of in the now, at least, or what I would say. And at some points, I wish the now wasn't now. I know everything will take place in essentially a blink of an eye, but I know I'll see my little tower crumble because that's how it has to happen. I'm going to build a new tower just starting from scratch, and it's going to be a painful treat for the future me to undertake. I'd love to say, though, that in those 4 years, I'm not the same. I've changed as a person, but I hope one day time can stand still just long enough for me to take a glance at it and look at it before it speeds away.